What up, people? It's Esoteric Nomad, and I am back. It has been like 3 weeks, and a lot has happened, um, as it usually does. It's interesting because we say first of all, let me mention a couple disclaimers at the beginning. I only record when I'm guided to. I don't have any set system. I go with whatever is coming through for me, and I speak very transparently, very vulnerably, and so I know not everyone's gonna like that, and that's okay. I am okay with that. You don't have to like it. Not everybody is meant to like everything, and I've understood that, so that's fine. And also, I do use a little bit of language, so if you're sensitive to that, apologies, but it's me. I don't particularly think using curse words is a negative thing. I believe there's a time and a place, and use your discernment. But when I'm here being me, I'm gonna let whatever comes out come out. So just so you know. But anyway, it's been a while since I've recorded, and a lot happens in a short amount of time, as we all know. We hear that time is not linear, and what that means is that time is existing in all directions. It's how you go to work one day and you'll get lost in whatever you're doing perhaps, and you'll look at the clock and it's been 3 hours and you're like, what the heck happened? Time is very fluid, and it's a lot of people have been speaking about how it feels like time is speeding up, because it is. There's a lot going on in the astral and just with the energies on the planet that is making time feel like it's moving faster. And we also have a lot of major things coming up for our society, our country. And so, with deadlines approaching, those things tend to, whenever there's a deadline looming, when I say looming, like a time approaching when there's a lot of anticipation on the line, things tend to speed up also. And so if you've noticed this, you're not alone. It happens to a lot of folks. It might mean you're a little bit more in tune with things. But yes, in 3 weeks' time, it's interesting. This is why I like to record when I'm guided, because I just I'm sure many other people, we go through so many phases in short amount of time. And you can call this bipolar, you can call it whatever you want. I feel like it's just human nature to go through ups and downs and ebbs and flows in our emotions and everything. And I have been ebbing and flowing for sure. So many things have occurred, so many amazing things, so many revelations, little things that I had already gathered but had not made as deep of an impact as they have today. So I got my coffee, and I wanted to mention just something today that kind of just came to me. You hear a lot about, if you're in the spiritual community, and if you're not, maybe you'll just learn a little bit of something new today. But when I speak about divine feminine and divine masculine, I'm sure a lot of folks have heard this. At this point, I feel like there's certain terms that have made it into 3D society. And when I say 3D society, I mean the folks that really aren't awake to what's happening. And when I say awake to what's happening, let me be specific about that, because there's different terms and levels of being, quote, woke. I hate that term. I hate the term simply because society has turned it into something that everybody thinks that they are, or a lot of people think that they are, when they're really actually maybe not. I can't speak for everyone individually, but I know for a fact I have seen people who have claimed to be, quote, woke. And let me first say that if you're claiming to be anything, you might want to reevaluate your reasons why you have to claim it. Now it's perfectly fine to be proud of who you are. Speak your truth. Absolutely. I am more so talking about the people who make it a habit to speak about, how woke they are and, all these things. It's like, for me, and in my discernment, I've noticed that the people who have to speak on who they are the most, like, oh, I'm woke, or I'm an empath, or I'm this and that, are the people who may not be. Or the people who, maybe not to say they aren't, but they have a distorted idea of maybe what that is. And so I personally don't choose to use a lot of those terms for that reason. That's just how I feel about it. Now, like I said, if you want to use those terms, if you are proud to be who you are, speak your truth. Then this isn't for you. But when I was speaking about, oh yes, that was the other disclaimer. I go through tangents, y'all. I will get lost in an idea and I just follow that thread. It's like Like when things are like kind of being channeled through me, it's just like, go with it, go, follow the breadcrumbs. So if you're ever listening and you're like, well, what the fuck? She hasn't talked about what she just said she was going to talk about. Bear with me. I might circle around to it, or there might be something better that's approaching. But anyway, what I started off with saying, the divine feminine and the divine masculine, and how these are terms that most of society has probably heard of at this point. Like terms like mindfulness and empath, and it's just different things. Like I've heard more and more people in the Matrix speaking about. I'm like, okay, good. Like these terms are starting to get out there. However, there's many terms that are getting out there with the wrong interpretation of what they are. And personally, for me, I wanted to share something that I had to learn for myself. And I'm speaking on this because I went through this same unraveling of discovery and trying to figure out what this meant for me. Now, there was a time when I was very caught up, like just like I'm sure a lot of people are. Like I was seeking out tarot readings like daily, multiple times a day. I was consulting my own cards because I do my own tarot. I do tarot for others. I was using pendulums. I was praying and, sitting at my altar in meditation, like habitually. And not to say those things are negative. However, anything in excess, anything done out of balance does have the potential to bring a quote negative outcome. It can form the ability for attachments to come in. Now, this is why a lot of people think that divination in itself is demonic. But society has done a real good job of spooking us into that. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen the Netflix series In Behind Her Eyes. It speaks about this woman who learns how to astral travel and then someone takes over her body. Let me tell you now that is not possible. Your soul is always connected to your body unless you have passed on. And so therefore it is not possible for any soul while you are astral traveling to commandeer your body. Now, there are things called attachments that are very active in the astral realm, such as if you drink a lot of alcohol, if you are addicted to drugs, gambling, porn addiction, any addiction, anything that any trauma that you have experienced throughout your life, it's a good chance that you have an attachment there that just it's like an imprint. It leaves a little stamp on your soul and therefore can influence you and have an effect on you. Now, the degree to which it will affect you is going to be different for us all. But first of all, don't fear that anyone can take over your soul or your body. That's not possible. I can tell you, I am someone who has been astral traveling a lot this past year. This is something that has been happening for me in layers. Last year, I was just at the brink of it. I was starting to experience the sensations and it scared the shit out of me. Let me also say this. If you experience what we call, what do they call it? Sleep paralysis. Do not be afraid. Don't be afraid. Now, the church, people coming up with their own assumptions, because bless us, as a society, human beings, we do our best to come up with reasons why things happen, but we're all being influenced by whatever we have been programmed by, right? So like any opinion is going to come, it's going to be filtered through everything that person has been influenced by throughout their entire life. So be very mindful of what opinions and whatever else you are gathering, and do your research. This is another thing, like, don't be afraid to ask questions, do research. The church and a lot of people have condemned people, questioning God, questioning this and that about their religion that they were born into. We are meant to question. We are meant to find what works for us. Some people do great with the template of church and going every Sunday and Wednesday. Some people work well with that, and if it helps them better their lives and they're not hurting others, more power to you. However, that template is not meant for everyone. Spirituality is not a one-size-fits-all thing, and therefore whatever makes you a better person and endows you with love towards everyone. If it's not coming from love, then it's not spiritual. I'm sorry. It's spiritual, but it's not from where you think it is. How about let's just say that. So now I'm circling back around to the terms that I keep getting lost in. Divine feminine and divine masculine. So there was a time when I thought that we each were one or the other. And let me say this, I've been studying astrology. It's something amazing. And let me say, I don't think astrology is our fate. I'm not one of those people. I'm not like, ooh, you're a Scorpio. Eee. I'm not going to say that. No, because first of all, if anybody who really studies astrology, you know that your birth chart, the entire chart with all your planets and their placements, is what makes up a person, or is what sort of like their blueprint. And now this is not something fixed in stone. It's more so going to be accurate to who you are if you've never gone through a spiritual awakening. And as we age and we get older, we're constantly shifting. That's why there's different charts. There's your draconic chart, there's sidereal, there's Western astrology, there's different charts. And I promise you, if you ever get on an app or whatever and you're seeking answers, just have fun with it. Look around, try different versions, sidereal, Vedic, whatever it is, and learn about yourself. Now, this does not mean that these things are who you are and it's set in stone. No, we have ability to make choice, people. Choice and free will is what we have, and thank God for it, because if we were all just stuck to what our chart said, then, we'd probably be kind of pissed off about it. Like, a little called out, but kind of pissed, like we have the ability to change. We do. And so I study astrology, and it's been a very cool modality for me. Like tarot is a modality. Let's see, reading runes is a modality. Using a pendulum is a modality. These are all things that we can use to help assist us. They're not meant to control our lives. They're not meant to govern our lives. They're not meant to be set in stone. And we're not meant to go to them more than we are meant to trust our own intuition. And I'm saying all of this because this is what I've learned firsthand. And I just love to share this with other people, just in case anybody's ever in that same spot. If you are relying on anything more than your own intuition, you have an imbalance in that. And there's probably going to be some problems happening in your life, some frustrations, an inability to see things clearly, lack of clarity. That's probably going to be happening in your life if you are attaching yourself too strongly to something, over trusting your own intuition. And I can say this with confidence because this is what I have gone through and what I still have to be mindful of, because it's real easy once your cards start saying stuff and it's coming true and you're like, oh, word, like you keep going back to, ooh, I want to know. Ooh, I want to know. Well, not meant to know everything. And I promise you, I'm not happy about that either. So I'm on the cusp of Cancer and Gemini, so I believe I have a lot of mercurial energy, that Gemini energy, loving to learn, conversate, gather information, share that information, study information. I want to know things. And when I realized that I'm not going to be able to know everything, and also I am not meant to know everything, it was a lot to stomach, because I'm like, well, why not? In our human minds, first of all, we got to realize we're using logic, we're reasoning through our problems with a human mind. Now, we are all led by a higher God mind. That's what I call it. Our higher self. Some people call it the Holy Spirit. Whatever you want to call it, it's all the same thing. And we are all led by that, but we are in these human suits, right? And we have a human brain that we are all working with. And in that human brain, we come up with logic that is, well, it's like, I used this example in a previous podcast. It's like trying to log on to Facebook with a calculator. We're not using the right tool to get the job done. And therefore, the reasons that if you try to get on Facebook with a calculator, you're probably going to realize, well, I can't. And you could go through life thinking, well, I can't log on to Facebook. I can't log on to it. What is all these? Sorry, my animals are acting ratchet. Hey, stop. Stop it. Stop. My cat and my dog get a little rowdy. Apologies. Calm down, guys. Anyway. So if you're using a calculator to log on to Facebook, you form the conclusion that, oh, well, Facebook is just trash. I can't get onto this. I can't form a profile. And I know this is a rudimentary example. Bear with me. The concept and what I'm saying, it all boils down to, a lot of us are using the wrong tools. And therefore, the conclusions we're coming up with, we're using this as our truth when we're not even working with what we're meant to work with. And so, yeah, let me just throw that in there. But also, going back to the divine feminine and the divine masculine, I thought that at a time that was, we are each one or the other. And this is how I got into the astrology tangent. Now, in astrology, whatever your sun sign is, what your main sign is, it's called your sun sign. Like, I am a Cancer. I'm on the cusp of Cancer and Gemini. If you're a Leo, if you're a Virgo, if you're a Scorpio, if you're a Sagittarius, if you're a Capricorn, whatever, that's your sun sign. Those signs, there's a group of signs that will be masculine, and there's a group of signs that are feminine. And when I say masculine and feminine, let me clarify what that is. Because God bless us, as society, we have really fallen in an imbalance with the masculine and the feminine. It's duality, okay? And this might ruffle some feathers when I say this, but it's like Democrats and Republicans. It's duality. It's two sides of the same coin that are meant to work together. They're meant to balance each other out. One is not meant to control. If one is ever controlling the other, if one is ever leading with all the energy and making all the choices, things are going to get jacked up, because nothing is ever meant to be ruled by one polarity. It's not. unless you're thinking of like just love. Well, love is the answer to everything. But anyway, but each specific sign will represent feminine or masculine. Now you can do a quick Google search and figure this out for yourself. I know a few of them for my own, like water signs. So that's going to be Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. We exude a feminine energy. And what that means is it's not like, ooh, we're all feminine and girly. And no, it doesn't mean that. Feminine energy is essentially, I'll try to sum this up. It's being in that receiving magnetism energy. It is allowing things to happen. It is leading from your intuition. It is being loving and nurturing. And yes, a lot of things that society thinks are girly, but that's okay. Essentially, there's so much more to it besides just that. Like I said, it's using your intuition. It is being in that energy of letting things come to you instead of chasing. You hear, oh, I don't chase, I attract. Well, that's being in your feminine energy if you're going to claim that. And that's okay. That's okay. And now when I say like some signs are either masculine or feminine, that just means that your dominant energy. And when I say dominant, that's probably just going to be like what you're used to doing the majority of your life. Like I have been a Cancer. Now I am on the cusp of Gemini and Cancer. And so a Gemini is a masculine sign, and I am a very androgynous person by nature. And like this, like if you want to look at astrology and see how true that is for a person, I promise you, look at me. Like it's kind of creepy. Like Gemini in itself is the twins, two sides. And then, being half Gemini, half Cancer, and I'm extremely androgynous. I always talk about duality and, black and white and, polarities and this and that. I believe we're meant to embody both. So as much as we each have our sun sign, that is the main energy that we will probably be operating in, everybody on earth embodies divine masculine and divine feminine energies. We're meant to. We are all meant to. And so there was a time when I was reading into twin flames. Now, be careful with this, people, because a lot of twin flame situations that we think are twin flames are really karmic, quote, twin flame relationships. And karmic, it's not the best. It's not. And now when I say not the best, it doesn't mean it's negative and it's just terrible. It just means that it is there to teach us something. It's there to help us grow, and it may not be meant for us in the long term. So, like I'm still learning about it, so I don't want to say too much about it because I don't want to, put out incorrect information, but I'm just going with what I know so far. But with the twin flame material that you see floating around, people are talking about, oh, your divine masculine is coming through and the divine feminine and this and that, making it seem like there is such a separation in that we are each one or the other. Now, I believe, like I said, we each lead and sort of navigate out of a dominant energy, like whatever one is dominant in our own life. But we all embody both. So as much as you will read these things about divine feminine and divine masculine, and when you see that divine feminine or that divine masculine term and a person pops into your head, sure, that might really actually have something to do with them. And also, I implore you to look within yourself, because we each have those aspects also. And when you're reading that material, it's really eye-opening to stuff that we're each going through, because we each embody both energies. So when you're reading about, oh, the divine feminine or the divine masculine is being secretive and holding things and blah, 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 look at your own self. Look at your own self and be real. And you have to be honest and compassionate to get real and look at yourself, but look at your own self, because we are all embodying those traits. And I just felt like that was important to put out there, because a lot of people get really lost in the concept of divine feminine, divine masculine, and they, they stop looking at themselves. They either don't know or they forget that we each embody both, and we are all meant to embody both. When we're leading out of one or the other all the time, it's not going to be productive. Think of a seesaw. If you're just always on the ground or always in the air, what kind of fun is that? Like, that'd be a jacked up seesaw, right? You'd be like, all right, man, now push your legs and let me go down and you go up. And, but if we're just sitting there, it's one person chilling on the ground, one person just dangling their legs in the air, well, that looks foolish and it's not fun. And that's another weird example, but it works. But yeah, we're all meant to embody both. So it's very much like a seesaw, like we're going up and down, divine feminine, divine masculine, divine feminine, divine masculine. Also a really cool thing to tell, you can do a Google search on this, because I forget the exacts. But we each have a divine feminine and divine masculine channel. And so if you are someone who breathes, now this might sound weird, but I promise you it's true. If you have like a certain side of your nose that you breathe out of, and one side is stopped up, I don't know if it's the right or the left side. I think the right side is feminine. I think the left side is masculine. For me, and it just goes to prove who I am, both sides of my nose are usually all the way open. This was not always the case. It was not. I used to have a very congested right side. And I remember when this was happening, I was very in my masculine energy, which was trying to control things and, just take over everything. I wasn't trying to allow things to happen. I was trying to command and make the outcome that I wanted. I was trying to direct. I was being far too authoritative. I was doing a lot of things in an imbalance in that masculine energy, and I needed to work more with my feminine. And I think over this past year, when I've made a lot of realizations, suddenly I can breathe out of both sides of my nose. And I'm telling you, this might sound silly, but think of some of the other stuff you believe on a daily basis, and I promise you this is not going to be the weirdest thing. I mean, Christ, look at our society right now and the things that are in the news. So me telling you that breathing out of one side of your nose is the divine masculine or the divine feminine, it ain't gonna be the weirdest shit you've heard today. I promise you that. So have an open mind. There's so much more that exists that we shrug off. And it's sad because a lot of us have lost touch, myself included at times. A lot of us have lost touch with our imaginative sides and that magical childlike wonder, because we ain't got time to be kids. Once you become an adult, you realize very quickly you have to command your life. You have to go. We think we have to go to work. We think we have to pay our bills. We think we have to do all these things, and it ain't no room to be a child. And God bless us, society is finally starting to realize that, yes, color. For the love of God, get a coloring book. Color you something. Watch some cartoons. Go outside and play with your kids if you have them. Play with your animals if you have them. Go frolic in nature. I've seen those memes and videos on TikTok and stuff. Go skip in the park. When's the last time you skipped? When is the last time you went for a good skip? I had a dream about myself doing that the other night. And, of course, in a dream, because we're in the astral, anything's possible. And I was skipping and launching myself 8 feet into the air. And it was so fun. And I woke up and I just felt like skipping. Skipping is fun. I don't know what it is. I feel like it exudes a very carefree, childlike energy, which is always good, right? There's that. But back to the divine feminine and the divine masculine. We all exude both traits, both energies, and we are meant to. And if you are reading material online, astrology material, now, hold on. Sorry. If you're getting your astrological material off of Cosmo, look, I'm not judging you. I'm not. And I'm not saying some of the information is going to be incorrect, but those are cookie cutter horoscopes. Those are so general that it's gonna fit. A lot of those are, at least. I'm not going to say all of them. I would suggest getting an actual app. Google Best Astrology app. Nebula will probably come up. I worked with that Nebula a little bit. It was all right, but I don't like using psychics and all that, and they have access to that. I personally don't like resorting to letting other people tell me what my life is going to be, especially for $1 a minute. That's a ripoff. But anyway, trust your own intuition, people. Not to say it's negative to look up psychics. I have done this before. I'm just saying don't overdo it. Don't overdo it. Don't go to a psychic more, and it's 11:11 on the clock. So that's meant for somebody. Don't go to a psychic more than you trust yourself, please. I have gone through this. I have to constantly stay mindful of this myself, because when we give that power away, so much more comes with that. When we give up power, we're basically saying to the universe that I don't trust myself. We're basically saying I give my power up to this source. And therefore, when you do that, attachments come in and negative things will come in. That's why a lot of people who are involved in drugs and heavy alcohol, first of all, alcohol in general, I'm not saying don't ever drink again. I'm just saying if you are a drinker, be mindful. Alcohol, because it is so readily available, it is a very, very open channel for negative things to come in and to control you. And not to say you're going to become possessed or anything crazy. I'm not going down that rabbit hole. I'm simply saying that heavy alcoholic drinkers, we all probably know one. Their lives are tricky. I guess is the kindest word I can think of, because I'm not trying to be judgmental. I'm just here to say that attachments come with that. When you allow yourself to be open to entities and energies like that, it's never going to be a promising outcome. So stay prayed up. Try to drink less alcohol. You'll be all right. Trying to think what else is coming through. Let's see. Yes, I'll give some more masculine signs. Like, so if you don't know, and I assume that anybody who's listening to my podcast is either somewhat familiar with astrology and might already know this information. So sorry if you're hearing this for the second time, but somebody might need to hear it. Some examples of masculine signs are the fire signs. And I love my fire signs. I love fire signs. I love y'all. If you're a fire sign out there, high five. You guys are dope. And I think it's because I'm a water sign, and I'm also half fire sign, I guess, or not fire sign, half masculine energy. So fire signs lead in masculine energy also. Now Gemini is an air sign. So in astrology, you have the elements, the earthly elements like air, fire, water, and earth. And then you have masculine, feminine, and then there's other things. But if you are a Leo, a Sag, or an Aries, you are a fire sign, which means your element is fire, and you are probably leading more out of your dominant energy. So these are your, like, I'm gonna make this shit happen type people. These are like, I'm gonna command this. My hyper independent people, my I don't need nobody but me people. Like, if you are in that energy, you are probably either working out of divine masculine energy, or you might be a fire sign. Let's see, we have, so fire signs, let's see, the air signs, my air people. We have Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. There we go. So if you are a Gemini, a Libra, or Aquarius, you are an air person. And air people tend to be very spiritual because it's air, it's spiritual, it's the spirits. You know, a lot of us who embody air sign energy, we might be like more in touch or more in tune with our intuition. We might, you might experience visions, prophetic dreams, things like that. We all have these abilities, and I hope society is starting to wake up to the fact that, like, in everything there is going to be a quote good and bad in everything, but do not let the little bit of bad that's in there turn you off from an idea completely. Like, and I'm going to ruffle some feathers possibly when I say this, but there is good and bad in everything. There's good and bad in Christianity. You have, God, look at the Christian church over time has started more wars and has killed more people in the name of God than I could think of anything else. And I'm saying this is the Christian church throughout all of time. I'm not speaking for necessarily right now. I'm not saying, like, if you're a Christian, then you're killing folks. I'm not saying that. Don't reach for this shit. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that it's an example of how something, quote, supposed to be good has been leading in an imbalance in its energy and has leaned in a negative direction at times. The Catholic Church, forgive me if you're Catholic, but you should already know this then. Any Catholic I meet that I have spoken to, they kind of have a dark humor about it, because the Catholic Church seems to at times lead out of a guilt mentality, making you feel guilty, making you feel oppressed, making you feel less than, in the eyes of God. And I don't think that's cool, but I'm not saying that's all that there is to Catholicism. I'm not saying that. I don't know enough about it to even speak on it, really. I just know that those are some things that a few Catholic individuals that I've spoken to have spoken about. But then you have, let's go into it, people, Democrats and Republicans. You're going to have really dope Democrats who are supporting good causes. There's some really good Democratic causes I could get behind. There's also some really good Republican causes I could get behind. The problem comes when we're operating out of just one or the other. I don't know why we don't have a neutral or I wish our society is getting into this, like, working together, essentially, is what I'm trying to get at. Working together, using two sides of the coin to work together instead of trying to compete. Why are we trying to compete? Because guess what? We all die at the end of this. I saw a TikTok about this, and this woman, the way she was saying it had me laughing so hard. She was like, guess what? We all die at the end of this. So that job you don't like, fuck them. Those kids, fuck them. That best friend who's acting shady, fuck them. That family member you don't like, fuck them. She was just going off, and it was so true though. It's just like, I'm sorry, I'm digressing a bit, but I wish we would work together more. And you might be rolling your eyes at that, and you can go ahead and label me whatever you want. I don't care. I don't really commit to any title. I just want love for all, and I want us to work out of love, and I want us to work together, because we all die at the end of this. We all do. And we're all, going back into our soul form. And, I won't get into this too deeply, but if you are, I will say this, whatever you are believing in this lifetime that you're going to go to when you pass on, because we all do pass on, and there is another side. but it is different for everybody, and it's going to be crafted to what your beliefs were while you were in the physical plane. So our thoughts create our realities. You've heard that before probably. So whatever you think you're going to go to, you will go to a place similar to that when you pass on. But I will tell you this, that the hell, quote, hell of the Bible is a non-existent place. That I mean, in my opinion, and I am only speaking for my opinion at all times. And this is going to be true for a lot of people, and some people might disagree with that, and that's okay. Maybe we can learn something from each other. I am willing to listen to anybody's side of anything respectfully. But I don't believe that there is a specific place called hell where you're just burning and you're just in pain for eternity. I do believe that tormented souls, people who might have led a, quote, dark life, who might have been lost in this lifetime, who might have struggled really heavily with the lessons and things that they were meant to integrate, they go to a place of repair in the afterlife. So it's almost like a rehab or like a purgatory type of sense, where you go and it's like the angels will work on you. The angels, the spiritual beings, the highest love and the highest light, they will hold you in a space, and you will heal. You will have to go through a process of healing before you can either choose to reincarnate again or whatever your next journey is. Because there is way more besides just reincarnating back on Earth. And I promise you, I'm going to do my best not to have to come back to this ghetto heap. I really am. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent now, but I just wanted to mention those things specifically about the divine feminine and the divine masculine, that we all operate out of both energies. You might just lead with one or the other. So when you're reading these things about twin flames, first of all, be mindful. What's the source? Get more information than just one source. Have conversations with people you trust. Gather information, people. Be in that Gemini energy. Gather information, because information is what will liberate us. And I'll just leave it at that today. So thank you for listening to my random tangents that I go off on. If you haven't checked out the other podcast episodes, go ahead and check them out. And subscribe, join in on the conversation in the comments if you'd like, respectfully. I don't tolerate any BS because I'm not in that energy. And so no, just be kind. How about that? But anyway, I will say stay safe out there in those cosmic streets, people. And until next time, peace.